He was just trying to help. A young veteran sees a desperate biker rush into the garage, begging for help to reach his injured son in the ER. Everyone turns away, except him. He grabs his tools, steps outside, and starts fixing the bike. Minutes later, the manager explodes. "What the hell do you think you're doing? Pack your tools, you're done." He's fired on the spot. But what no one knew, the biker was the CEO's brother, and by punishing compassion, they triggered a storm they couldn't stop. Tell us where you're watching from, and hit like and subscribe to the channel for more stories where silence fights back. The morning rush in Midtown Manhattan sounded like a pressure cooker about to blow. Car horns blared, construction pounded against steel beams, sirens whined faintly in the distance. Inside the garage on 54th and Lexington, fluorescent lights buzzed above the clatter of tools, and the low murmur of jokes passed between technicians. Oil-slick concrete reflected faint skylight through grimy windows. It was another typical day in the city, but not for him. Travis Cole, 27, worked in silence under a lifted Ford Explorer. His jumpsuit, once navy, was now streaked with black, grey, and deep rust brown. On his chest, the name Travis was embroidered above a faded patch, a small US flag with frayed edges. A tribute to a different chapter of his life. He wiped sweat from his brow, eyes sharp and focused as he tightened a bent axle. Travis had been out of the Marines for nearly 2 years, but the discipline never left him. He arrived early, stayed late, took the worst shifts, and while others leaned against walls sipping coffee, Travis fixed cars like lives depended on it, and maybe they did. Behind him, laughter burst out. One of the senior techs, Rick, flicked a rag at another guy. "Tell Sergeant Boy Scout to fetch my wrench again." "Sure, he's not busy saving the world?" Another chimed in. Travis heard it. He always heard it. The muttered jokes about his military past, the comments about being too intense, too stiff, too quiet. He didn't answer. He rolled out from under the vehicle, stood tall at 6 feet, shoulders broad, and moved to the tool wall. "Hey, Travis, have you ever smiled? Or do you sleep with your boots on too?" Rick called out, laughing. Travis didn't respond. He picked up the torque wrench, nodded to the car, and walked back. He didn't need to prove anything. He wasn't here to make friends. He was here because his mother needed help covering medical bills, and rent wasn't cheap in New York. And because, after the war, engines made more sense than people. At 10:26 a.m. the door chimed, barely audible over the sound of an impact wrench. Most didn't look up. Customers came and went, but Travis caught the movement from under the Dodge he was inspecting. Heavy boots, leather jacket, tattoos creeping up the neck. The figure moved with urgency, not aggression. Wide shoulders, eyes darting. His jacket was weathered, the kind of worn-in leather that told of highway miles and hard nights. On the back, the unmistakable patch, Hell's Angels. The room shifted. 2 customers near the waiting area exchanged uneasy glances. One murmured, "Is that real? Here?" The man approached the counter, breath short. Bike died outside. "My son's in the ER uptown. Internal bleeding. I need to get there fast. I don't need a full fix, just enough to move. Please." Kim, the receptionist, didn't look up from her phone. Her acrylic nails tapped the screen. "Take a seat. Someone will get to you. I don't have time to wait." "Neither does anyone else," she said flatly. Behind him, a man in a suit stood up. "I don't feel safe with that guy here." The biker looked around, judged, dismissed, labeled. Travis watched him turn toward the door, hand on his phone, probably calling a cab, praying one would come fast enough. His shoulders sagged. Then Travis stood. He walked across the garage, ignoring the glances. "What are you riding?" The biker blinked. "Yamaha Cruiser, ignition's fried, just outside." Travis nodded. "Show me." The biker hesitated, then led him outside. The bike leaned awkwardly by the curb. "You look like hell," Travis said simply, crouching beside it. "My son, he took a fall, ruptured something. They said hours count." Travis worked fast, eyes scanning the engine, hands moving instinctively. "I can get it running enough for a hospital run. 10 minutes. That's all I need," the biker whispered. Inside, laughter started again. "Look at Captain America," Rick muttered. "Saving biker scum now." Footsteps, sharp, angry. Reynolds Karen, the shop manager, bald, late 40s, stormed toward them. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Travis stood slowly, fixing his ignition. "Did you log a ticket? Get approval?" "He's not even a customer. You don't touch anything without my sign-off." The biker held up cash. "I'll pay." "I don't care if you pay in gold bars," Karen snapped. "We don't do street favors, not for people like this." Travis's eyes narrowed. "He's just trying to get to his kid." "And you're just trying to get fired," Karen hissed. "Pack your tools, you're done." The garage went silent. Travis stared at him. No words, just that cold clarity in his eyes. The biker muttered, "I'm sorry, man." "Don't be," Travis replied. "They were never going to see us." They shook hands, brief, strong. Then the biker roared off, engine catching just enough spark. Gone. Travis turned, walked back inside. The tools still lay there. The Dodge still needed fixing, but everything had changed. No one looked at him. No one said anything. But Karen did. "Clock out. And don't come back." Travis didn't argue. He wiped his hands, moved toward the back. Behind him, Rick chuckled. "All that for a guy in a vest? Not worth it." Travis didn't respond. But inside, something cracked. Not pain, not regret, just freedom. The locker room was dim, humming with the buzz of a tired overhead light that flickered like it couldn't decide if it still belonged. Travis stood in front of his locker, unmoving. The echo of Reynolds Karen's voice still rang in his ears, sharp as metal. "Pack your tools, you're done." He opened the metal door. Inside, a few rags, a canteen from his service days, and his toolbox. Everything organized with military precision. His hands were steady, but his chest burned. Not from shame, not even from anger. From truth. 2 years he'd worked here. Never late, never slacked off. Never once raised his voice. And the one time he acted on instinct, helping a man in need, he was cast out like a problem. He sat on the bench for a moment longer than necessary, duffel bag open at his feet. The silence of the room felt heavier than the wrenches in his hand. The door creaked. He didn't turn. "Hey," the voice was soft. Travis glanced over his shoulder. Jonas, younger mechanic, maybe 22, pale, wiry, nervous energy in his fingers, like he didn't know where to put his hands. "That was something back there," Jonas said. Travis gave a short nod. "Yeah, I mean..." Guy looked rough. "Most of us thought ... you know." "Yeah," Travis repeated. Jonas scratched the back of his neck, but he was real. Desperate. It wasn't fake. "You saw that." Travis zipped his bag. "Didn't need to see it. I've lived it." Jonas opened his mouth to say more, then closed it. Travis walked past him, boots heavy on the tile. With every step he felt the weight of unspoken words, the judgment, the indifference, the cowardice. He stepped back onto the shop floor. For the first time everyone turned to look, not long, not dramatically, just enough. Karen stood by the counter, clipboard in hand, jaw tight. Travis didn't look at him. He walked to the front door. The bell above it jingled lightly. The cold air outside hit him like a slap. The city didn't care what had just happened inside. It kept moving, taxis honking, steam rising from sewer grates, conversations, arguments, sirens. But there, near the edge of the curb, stood the biker. Travis paused. "Didn't expect you to still be here," he said. The biker turned. "I went to the hospital, came back." Travis's eyes searched him. "He okay?" The man gave a tight nod. "Stable." They said the next hour was critical. I made it just in time." He stepped closer. "That was because of you." Travis said nothing. The biker held out his hand again. This time, Travis gripped it without hesitation. "Name's Ray." "Travis." Ray nodded. "You ever need anything? Job? Ride? Back up? You'll find me." He handed Travis a card. Black, embossed. Just a name and a number. Then he walked away, swallowed by the city. Travis stood there for a moment, card in hand. Wind caught the corners of his jacket. He tucked the card into his pocket, shoulders lifting slightly as if some weight had fallen off. That night the apartment felt colder, not from the weather, from silence. He lived in a small third-floor unit in Queens, sparse, clean, pictures of his mom, old unit photos, a shadow box with a medal and an old flag. He sat at the kitchen table, staring at his toolbox on the floor. He should have been exhausted, but his mind churned. What now? What did he even have left? His phone buzzed. A notification, social media, a video tagged with the shop's location. He clicked, grainy footage. Someone had filmed it from the waiting room. A shaky angle but clear enough. Travis helping Ray. Then the explosion, Karen yelling, the dismissal, the silence that followed. The caption read, "He helped a man get to his son and got fired for it." Comments flooded below. "City truth, this can't be real. Vet's mom 2020, he's a vet. Look at the patch on his jumpsuit. That's how they treat him." RADOD83, biker was my cousin. This dude saved his kid's life. Travis stared, unsure how to feel. Exposed, seen. He closed the app. His phone buzzed again. Text from Jonas. "You should see this, it's blowing up. I think someone from corporate saw it too." Travis didn't answer. He leaned back in his chair, eyes on the ceiling, breathed slowly, steady. He had no job, no plan, but for the first time in a long time, he felt like himself. The next morning, Travis stood outside the garage again. He didn't know why. Closure, maybe. He hadn't planned to walk here. His boots just carried him past the corner deli, past the same hot dog cart with the crooked umbrella, past the hydrant with chipped red paint. The shop looked the same, but he wasn't. He stepped inside. No one looked up. Kim was at the desk, chewing gum loud enough to count as a percussion instrument. The techs were back to their usual banter, as if nothing happened. He walked to the back, into the locker room, opened his locker. Inside were the rest of his tools, laid out like soldiers ready for inspection. He packed them slowly, like this was a ritual, like it mattered. He zipped the duffel, slung it over his shoulder, and turned. Karen was there, came back for round two. The manager sneered, "Just my things. You know, you could have had a future here if you just followed orders." Travis met his eyes. "You mean if I'd ignored someone who needed help? This is a business, not a rescue mission. You're right. And I'm not coming back." He pushed past. But Karen's voice chased him down the hallway. "You think the world cares about one good deed? Grow up." Travis didn't turn around. He just walked. One step, then another. He passed the work bays. Jonas looked up. Their eyes met. Jonas gave a small nod. No words. Just that. Travis pushed the front door open and stepped back into the morning. Not broken, not bitter, just free. Travis didn't go home right away. After leaving the garage, he wandered down Lexington, past the buzz of traffic and impatient cabs, past a line of early risers holding coffee like lifelines, past a busker playing saxophone on the corner. His boots carried him like they had back in deployment, steady, forward, focused on nowhere in particular. He ended up at a park bench across from St. Gregory's Medical Center. The hospital where Ray's son had been rushed. He didn't even realize where his feet had taken him until he saw the entrance, the red emergency sign blinking faintly in the daylight. He sat, elbows on knees, bag at his feet. People flowed in and out of the hospital, parents clutching backpacks, nurses on break with paper cups, a man pacing with a phone glued to his ear. Life didn't stop for what happened in that garage, but Travis couldn't shake the feeling that something inside him had. He pulled out the biker's card. Matte black, simple font, Ray Hollis, no title, just a number. He turned it over. Blank. He didn't call. He just held it. Back at his apartment, he spent the afternoon applying for jobs. He typed and retyped his resume, adjusted a line about his military service, added more detail under the auto shop, then deleted it. He stared at the screen, scrolled job boards, clicked, backed out, clicked again. All of it felt hollow. He kept seeing Karen's face. "Pack your tools. You're done." He got up and made coffee, let it go cold. By sundown, his phone buzzed again. Another message from Jonas. "Dude, it's on the news. Local station, your name's not in it, but everyone here knows. Karen's sweating. Hard." He opened the link. There it was, a 60-second spot on NY9. Shaky video, reporter, voice over. A young mechanic at a Midtown auto shop was fired after helping a biker whose son was in critical condition. The man, identified only as a veteran, stepped in when no one else would. Travis exhaled slowly. Not from pride, from pressure, the kind that builds in your ribs and chest, then lets go. His phone rang. Unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. "Hello? Mr. Cole? This is Sherry Holden. I work in operations for Urban Gear Automotive. We own the 54th Street garage." His spine straightened. "I'm calling to inform you that due to recent events, we're reviewing several conduct violations at that location. There may be an internal investigation opened." Travis didn't speak. "Would you be willing to answer a few questions about your experience there, confidentially?" He nodded, then remembered she couldn't see. "Yes. We'll follow up shortly. Thank you for your service, Mr. Cole." The line went dead. He stared at the screen, then he turned off the ringer. 2 days passed, then 3. The story spread wider than expected. It was no longer just a clip on someone's phone. It was articles, Reddit threads, and vet forums. People talked, debated, took sides. Some said Travis broke protocol. Others said the protocol was broken to begin with. On the 4th day, a letter appeared under his apartment door. Typed, hand-signed. It bore the letterhead of Urban Gear Corporate. Request for in-person meeting. Location, corporate office, 10th Avenue. Time, 11 a.m. Tomorrow. No explanation, no contact name. Just the time, the place, and a signature at the bottom. E. Hollis. Travis stared at the name for a full minute before it clicked. Hollis, Ray. At 10:45 the next morning, Travis stood in front of a sleek glass building with silver trim and rotating doors. The corporate office. He'd walked past places like this before, delivering parts, never entering. He adjusted the collar of his cleanest jacket, slacks, polished boots, no grease, no jumpsuit. He felt exposed. The receptionist in the lobby looked up. "You're Mr. Cole?" He nodded. "They're expecting you. 3rd floor. Conference B." The elevator was silent except for the sound of his own breath. When the doors opened, he found the hallway empty, a single frosted door with B printed in chrome. He pushed it open. Inside, a long table, high windows, natural light. At the far end, a man stood up, Ray. No leather jacket, no boots, a button-down shirt, sleeves rolled, hair pulled back. He looked different, and exactly the same. Next to him, a tall man with a firm jawline, close-cropped grey hair, and a calm authority. He wore a dark blazer with no tie, and eyes that said he measured everything. "Mr. Cole," the man said, "thank you for coming. I'm Ellison Hollis, CEO. Ray's my brother." Travis blinked, then slowly sat across from them. Ellison continued, "I was out of state when this happened. Ray called me that night, told me everything. Then I saw the footage, the statements, the public reaction." He folded his hands. "I served too, Navy, and I won't tolerate any company under my name punishing a veteran for doing the right thing." Travis sat quietly. Ellison looked to Ray, then back. Karen Reynolds has been terminated, effective immediately. Travis exhaled. And we want to talk about your future. An hour later, Travis stepped out of the building with a folder in hand. Inside, an offer letter. Lead technician, 54th Street location, full salary increase, benefits, oversight authority. And a note, handwritten, "You didn't ask to lead. That's why you should." He didn't smile. Not yet. But something settled inside him. Not pride, not relief. Something like gravity, like roots. The cold air greeted Travis as he stepped out of the Urban Gear corporate building, but it felt different this time. Not biting, not harsh, almost like clarity. He walked slowly down 10th Avenue, clutching the black folder in one hand. The words still echoed in his ears. "You didn't ask to lead. That's why you should..." He stopped at a corner, watching traffic zip past. He thought of the grease-stained garage, the laughing techs, the wrench in his hand. The silence was when Karen fired him. He could still see their faces, a mix of fear, indifference, and something close to guilt. And now? Now they were going to have to look at him differently. He walked until his legs ached, eventually finding himself in front of a small diner tucked beside a laundromat. Not the cleanest place, but familiar. He'd eaten here with Jonas once, back when they first started. He slipped into a booth by the window, ordered a black coffee, pulled out the folder, lead technician, oversight of the 54th Street garage, reporting directly to the regional. It was more than a promotion. It was a statement. He had been seen, respected, and somehow that made him feel heavier, not lighter, like he was carrying more now. He sipped his coffee and stared out the window, watching the city shift and swell around him. Back at his apartment that night, he sat at his table and stared at the offer again. The paper felt thick, official. He laid it next to the patch from his old uniform, the frayed flag, one he'd worn across oceans. The other he'd earned by staying grounded. He hadn't told anyone yet, not even his mom. He picked up his phone, thumb hovering over Jonas's name. Then a message came in first. Jonas heard a rumor. "You're coming back?" Travis, yeah. Not just coming back, running it. 3 dots blinked for a long time. Jonas, good, it needs you. We all saw it. We were just scared. Travis, I get it. See you Monday. He powered off his phone, exhaled slowly, and leaned back. He wasn't just returning, he was rebuilding. Monday morning came fast. The city was dressed in a soft grey mist, buildings wrapped in fog like breath caught mid-air. Travis arrived before sunrise, the garage still dark. He unlocked the side entrance, the key fitting smoothly like it had always belonged to him. He stepped inside. The silence was different now, not empty, waiting. He walked through the bays, the locker room and the front desk. Everything was the same, but everything changed. At 7 a.m. sharp, the first text started arriving. Jonas came in first, eyes cautious, then warming. "Boss," he said, trying the word out. "Jonas." Travis returned. Others followed. Some avoided eye contact, some nodded. Rick came in last, muttering something under his breath. At 7:15, Travis called everyone to the break room. They gathered slowly, coffee cups in hand. A few were leaning against the wall. No one is quite sure what to expect. Travis stood at the front, arms crossed. "I'm not here to play boss," he started. "I'm here to lead. That means holding the line. It also means lifting it." A few exchanged glances. "Some of you had no problem watching me get thrown out for doing the right thing. I get it. Fear makes people freeze, but fear doesn't run this place anymore." He paced slightly. "We're cleaning up. Culture, process, respect. No more backtalk to customers. No more dismissing someone because of how they look. And no more silent corners." Rick crossed his arms. "So what, we all get HR training now?" "No, you get accountability. From me, from yourselves. You don't like it? There's the door." Silence. Then a slow nod from Jonas. Travis held his gaze a second longer, then walked out. The next week moved like a storm front. Inspections were run, paperwork audited. Several old practices were flagged and removed. Kim, the receptionist, was replaced with a new hire named Clara, a woman in her 30s who greeted everyone with eye contact and clarity. Travis worked long hours, not because he had to, because he couldn't stand to let cracks form again. He fixed engines and broken morale alike. When Rick slacked off, he got a warning. When Jonas caught a part defect that others missed, he praised him publicly. He wasn't there to be liked, he was there to set the tone. And the tone had changed. On Friday, near closing, a familiar rumble sounded outside. Travis looked up from the shop floor. Ray, same leather jacket, same bike. But this time no desperation, just a nod. "You got a minute?" Ray asked. Travis waved him in. The techs noticed, whispering. Ray stepped inside, removed his gloves. "Word travels," Ray said. "Heard you flipped this place." "Trying to." Ray handed him a folded paper. "That ride you fixed? I sold it. Got a better one, but kept the receipt. Thought you should have it." Travis unfolded the paper. On the back was scribbled handwriting. "My son lived because of this, thank you." R.H. Travis looked up. "You didn't have to." "I know," Ray said, "but I wanted to, because I know how it feels to be invisible, and I know what it means when someone chooses to see you." They shook hands again, this time not in chaos, but in peace. That night, Travis locked up the garage alone. He stood at the bay doors, watching the last rays of sun streak against the skyline. New York kept moving, but something in him had settled, not finished, never finished. But finally starting for real, he looked down at his reflection in the glass. Not just a veteran, not just a mechanic, a leader. By the second week, things at the 54th Street garage weren't just different. They were sharper, cleaner, tighter. Travis had laid down expectations, and though not everyone loved it, most respected it. He didn't micromanage, didn't bark orders. He just showed up early, with his sleeves rolled and hands covered in grease like everyone else. But when things slipped, we saw it, named it, and fixed it. There was less shouting across bays now, fewer passive-aggressive jokes. People clocked in on time. Jonas even started training a newer kid named Eli, who reminded Travis of himself, observant, quiet, unsure whether to trust the ground under his feet. On Wednesday, a regional rep named Tonya stopped by unannounced. She walked the floor, clipboard in hand, sharp heels echoing against the concrete. The tech scrambled to straighten up, but Travis didn't flinch. When she reached him, he was midway through replacing a suspension system on a Toyota. "You're Cole?" she asked. "That's me," he said, tightening a bolt. "Just observing today." "Good," Travis said simply. "We're not putting on a show." She watched him a beat longer, then nodded and kept walking. That night, she emailed corporate. "Leadership is solid. Site culture improved dramatically. Recommend duplicating his protocol for other urban locations." He didn't know about the email yet, but he felt it. The shift. Later that week, Travis walked into the break room and caught Rick quietly helping Eli align a toolbox. No sarcasm, no rolled eyes, just doing it. Travis didn't interrupt, just walked to the sink, filled a water bottle and left. Progress didn't always need applause, but not everything was smooth. The next day, Clara flagged him at the front desk. "There's a woman here, says she's Karen's sister, wants to speak to you." Travis raised an eyebrow but nodded. Clara waved the woman in. She was in her 40s, hair pinned up, coat too heavy for the weather. She stood stiff, like the room offended her. "I'll make this quick," she said. "My sister gave her life to this place, and now she's at home, broken, humiliated, because of you." Travis leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "She was terminated by corporate," he said evenly. "Not by me. She said you pushed for it. I said I wouldn't stay silent when people were mistreated. If she feels broken, maybe that's because she built everything around the wrong kind of power." The woman's face twisted, eyes narrowing. "You think you're better than her?" "No," Travis said quietly, "just trying to be better than I was yesterday." She left without another word. Clara exhaled as the door shut behind her. "That woman had court energy," she muttered. Travis almost smiled. That night he couldn't sleep. Not from regret, but because old thoughts came crawling back. Times in the Marines when command decisions were made on the same edge, when someone's reputation, career, or even safety is balanced on how clearly you called out a wrong. Leadership wasn't about being right, it was about being responsible. He rose early the next day, jogged before sunrise, then arrived at the garage to find Eli already there, waiting outside with a wrench roll under his arm. "You're early," Travis said. Eli nodded. "Didn't want to mess up again. Rick said I talked the wrong spec yesterday." Travis unlocked the door. "Good. Come in. Let's fix it together." That day, they worked side by side. At one point, Rick passed by, tossing Eli a can of soda without a word. Eli looked stunned. Travis gave him a slight nod. The kid grinned for the first time in 2 weeks. That afternoon, Ray called. "Hope I'm not stepping on anything," he said. "You're not. Listen. A friend of mine runs a garage in Jersey, ex-military like us. He's been looking for someone to lead a new site. I told him about you." Travis paused. "You trying to poach me?" Ray laughed. "Not unless you're open. Just thought you should know your name's out there now, and not because of what happened, but because of how you handled it." Travis exhaled slowly. "I appreciate it, really, but I think I've got work left to do here." "Fair enough," Ray said. "Keep building. People are watching." That evening, Travis stood outside the garage under fading daylight. The building didn't look different, but it felt different, like something old had been scrubbed clean, like it finally had space to breathe. Behind him, Jonas stepped out, wiping his hands. "You ever think it'd look like this?" he asked. Travis shook his head. "No, I thought I'd fix engines, not people." Jonas chuckled. "Well, you're doing both, and it's working." Travis didn't reply, just stood there watching the lights come on across the street. He felt tired but grounded, not a hero, not a martyr, just a man doing his job a little differently now. And for the first time in years, that was enough. The following week brought an early winter chill, the kind that settled in your bones before the temperature even dropped below freezing. Travis arrived at the garage wrapped in a fleece-lined jacket, steam curling from his breath as he unlocked the side entrance. The cold reminded him of dawn patrols overseas, of waking before the sun with only movement to keep you warm. That part of his life felt distant now, but still close enough to tap on his shoulder some mornings. By 7:10 a.m. the crew had gathered. The garage smelled of oil, rubber, and brewing coffee. Clara had added a small space heater beneath her desk, and Jonas was playing a blues playlist quietly from his bass speaker. Things felt alive. Travis ran through the job sheet, delegating tasks like clockwork. Eli paired with Rick again on a hybrid battery replacement. Jonas took point on a full brake system overhaul. Travis himself stayed hands-on, moving from bay to bay, checking torque settings, calibrating machines, and troubleshooting the finer problems no one else caught. Around mid-morning, a man walked through the door wearing a stiff black jacket and a corporate visitor badge clipped to his collar. He looked like he belonged in a law office, not a garage. Clara waved Travis over. "Name's Grant Decker." The man introduced himself. "Internal compliance, here for a routine site review." "Routine?" Travis asked. Decker didn't blink. Corporate's been revisiting personnel files, especially after recent headlines. Travis narrowed his eyes slightly but gestured toward the shop. "You're welcome to observe. We've got nothing to hide." Decker watched quietly for the next 2 hours, took notes, asked a few stiff questions, measured bay spacing, verified safety signage. He was professional but cold. At noon, he stepped into the break room with Travis. I've reviewed your file, Decker said flatly. No citations, positive peer reviews, commendation from Urban Gear's CEO. Travis nodded slowly. Is there a problem? Not yet, but we're being cautious. When narratives like yours go public, they create expectations, sometimes too high. Travis leaned forward. I'm not here for headlines. I'm here to lead a garage. Decker gave the hint of a smirk. Just don't give anyone a reason to call you a liability. He left shortly after. Travis stood in the doorway for a long time, watching the man disappear into the street. Jonas joined him with a half-eaten sandwich in his hand. What was that about? He asked. Audit. You think they're looking for a reason to take it back? Travis didn't answer. He didn't need to. The silence said enough. That afternoon, Clara forwarded an email to Travis, subject line, Anonymous Customer Feedback. He opened it and read, The new manager's attitude is too aggressive. He makes other staff nervous. He acts like he's still in the military and runs the shop like a base. Below that, however, service quality has improved significantly since his promotion. Cleanest my vehicle's been handled in years. He read it twice, then a third time. He didn't know whether to feel insulted or affirmed, maybe both. He closed his laptop, walked to the locker room, and stood in front of the mirror. He hadn't changed the way he spoke. He just stopped apologizing for it. By Friday, tensions had cooled again. Decker hadn't returned. The crew joked more freely. Even Rick had settled into a rhythm, no longer challenging Travis with every breath. Late in the day, as the last customer pulled out of the bay, Clara approached him. You've got a visitor. Didn't give a name. Travis looked up, frowning. Through the glass he saw a young man, maybe 18, wearing a battered army green hoodie and jeans too big for him. Eyes alert, posture tense. Travis stepped out front. Can I help you? The young man shifted. Are you Travis Cole? That's me. You don't know me. But I saw your story, the video, the part about standing up for someone. I got kicked out of a training program last month. Didn't finish high school. I can fix things, but no one gives me a shot. They say I don't have credentials. He paused, then pulled a folded resume from his hoodie pocket. I know you probably get this a lot, but I thought, if anyone would understand, it'd be you. Travis took the paper. It was thin, no references. A list of side jobs and hustles but the last line caught his eye. Goal, to work somewhere that doesn't treat me like a mistake before I pick up a tool. He folded the paper. Come back Monday morning. I'll have you shadow me for a week. No promises. You show up on time. You work hard. That's your shot. The young man's eyes lit up. He nodded quickly. Yes, thank you. Seriously, what's your name? Marcel. Travis offered a hand. Welcome, Marcel. See you Monday. That weekend, Travis took a long walk through Queens, ending near the old VFW post where his unit used to gather for reunions. He didn't go inside, just stood outside the building, watching the flicker of light from the windows. He pulled out his phone, opened the note from Ray, and reread the line again. Because I know what it means when someone chooses to see you. Then he added a new note under it. Sometimes the best mechanics aren't built. They're forged. He pocketed the phone and turned toward. Behind him, the light of the VFW post kept glowing, steady, like something waiting patiently for him to return when he was ready. Monday morning rolled in with a steady drizzle, the kind that slicked the city streets in a grey sheen and made every engine harder to start. But Travis was already at the garage before 6, lights on, warming up the shop with the low whir of heaters and the metallic scent of fresh oil. He reviewed the work schedule, reorganized tool carts, and prepped the first few vehicles that had been dropped off overnight. When Clara arrived, she barely beat Marcel through the door. Marcel looked different. His hoodie was cleaner, though still frayed. His hair had been trimmed. His sneakers looked scrubbed down with a toothbrush. He walked in fast, but stopped at the door like it was a test he wasn't sure he'd pass. Travis waved him in. You're early. I didn't sleep much, Marcel admitted. Didn't want to screw this up. You don't have to impress anyone today, Travis said, handing him a shop apron. Just pay attention, ask when you don't know, and don't break anything expensive. That earned a nervous smile from Marcel. Travis introduced him to Jonas first. He'll be shadowing you today. Let him watch, maybe get his hands on some basic diagnostics by lunch. Got it, Jonas said, giving Marcel a nod. Come on, I'll show you how to start a work order. The day moved fast. Marcel didn't talk much, but he never lost focus. He watched every turn of the wrench, every sensor scan, and asked questions only when something clearly didn't add up in his head. Jonas gave a quiet thumbs up mid-morning, Travis noticed. Around noon, while Marcel was helping Jonas with a fuse box calibration, a black luxury SUV pulled up outside. Out stepped a man in a tailored navy suit, polished shoes, and a Bluetooth earpiece still flashing blue. He looked around like he expected a red carpet. Clara leaned toward Travis. Incoming headache. The man walked in briskly. I need someone to look at my brakes. I'm on a time crunch. Do you have an appointment? Clara asked. I called yesterday. A woman confirmed. I expect it to be ready in 30 minutes. Travis stepped forward. Sir, brake inspections usually take at least an hour, assuming no complications. We can prioritize it if you're willing to leave the vehicle and come back. The man looked him over. You're the new manager? I read about you. Military guy, right? Travis held his expression. That's right. Well, I don't care if you ran tanks in the desert. I have a meeting at noon and I need my car done by then. Understand? Marcel looked up from across the shop, eyes wide. Travis didn't flinch. Understood. But it's not happening in 30 minutes. You can wait or you can come back. The man scoffed. Customer service these days is a joke. I'll be emailing corporate. You do that, Clara said cheerfully from behind her desk. The man stormed out. Marcel let out a breath. Travis walked over. You'll get those every now and then. Do they all talk like that? Only the ones who think their time matters more than yours. By the end of the day, Marcel had shadowed 3 full-service cycles. He'd learned how to read diagnostic codes, how to pressure test cooling systems, and how not to over-tighten a torque bolt. He didn't speak much, but every now and then, Travis caught him watching closely, observing how people moved, spoke, and handled pressure. When the last bay door rolled shut and the floor had been swept, Travis sat Marcel down in the break room. You did well today, Marcel nodded. Thanks. I messed up the scanner earlier, though. You owned it and fixed it. That counts more. Marcel looked at the floor, twisting the edge of his sleeve. I'm not good at places like this. People usually clock me in 5 seconds and decide I'm not worth teaching. Travis nodded. You weren't the only one who got clocked fast. This place used to see me the same way. Marcel looked up. Why'd you let me in? Because someone did that for me. And because you showed up. There was a long silence before Marcel said, I'll be here tomorrow, early. I know. The week progressed and with it so did Marcel. By Thursday, he could do simple fluid checks on his own and had started helping Jonas prep for emissions testing. Rick, skeptical at first, had grudgingly admitted the kid didn't get in the way. But it wasn't just Marcel growing. That Thursday evening, Travis found a handwritten note slipped under his office door. You probably don't remember me. I came in a few months back and got turned away. I looked rough. Long beard, heavy jacket. You weren't the one who ignored me, but you came outside and asked if I was okay. I wasn't then. I am now. Thank you. It wasn't signed, just folded neatly. Travis kept it. He didn't need to know the name. On Friday, a delivery truck arrived from HQ. Inside were new diagnostic units, a set of rolling tool trays, and a small banner that read, Urban Gear Excellence Pilot Site. Travis looked at the banner, then back at Jonas. We hanging that up? Jonas asked. Travis shook his head. We earn it first, then maybe. Jonas grinned. Fair. As the crew unloaded equipment, Marcel helped Rick organize the parts wall. Clara added the site certificate to the reception desk. There was a sense of pride in the air, earned, not assigned. That night, Travis stayed late, sitting at his desk, reading through upcoming schedules. When he finally stood to leave, he passed Marcel on the way out. The kid had stayed behind to clean the shop floor, not because anyone asked, but because it felt like his place now. Travis nodded, and for the first time Marcel met his eyes fully, not as a guest. As part of the team, Saturday mornings were usually quiet around the shop. The crew worked a half-day rotation and customers trickled in more slowly, many preferring to sleep in or push repairs to Monday.
Travis liked Saturdays.
The air felt calmer, focused. He arrived early, as always, and brewed the first pot of coffee himself before walking the floor, checking bay safety locks and topping off the washer fluid tanks. Marcel was there too, early as promised. He'd started arriving before Jonas now, wiping down tool surfaces, laying out gloves and rags before anyone asked. It wasn't just work ethic, it was investment, like he'd decided this was his place, and it needed to reflect that. Jonas showed up with a limp in his step. "You all right?" Travis asked. "Basketball game last night. Rolled my ankle. Thought I was 22 again. You're not?" "Pain says otherwise." Travis smirked. "Stick to diagnostics today. Let Marcel take the lead on Bay 3. I shadow." Jonas nodded without hesitation. "Deal." By mid-morning, the sun finally broke through the clouds, casting a sharp beam of light through the front window. It caught dust in the air like a frozen storm. Marcel was bent over a tire rotation when the door chimed. A woman walked in, late 30s, maybe early 40s. Brown blazer, jeans, hair tied back in a professional twist. She carried a slim folder and wore a look that was half business, half exhaustion. Clara greeted her. "Can I help you?" "I'm looking for Travis Cole." Travis stepped forward from the service bay, wiping his hands on a towel. "That's me," she extended a hand. "Natalie Jensen. I work with Youth Connect Outreach. We focus on at-risk employment placements." Travis nodded once. "All right, what can I do for you?" Natalie hesitated, glancing back toward the door before lowering her voice. "I've been following your story since the video went public. You made waves, Mr. Cole, more than you probably know. A lot of our clients talk about it, especially the ones who've been turned away so many times they've stopped trying." Travis folded the towel, eyes steady. "That was never the goal. I just did what felt right." She smiled faintly. "Exactly, that's why I'm here." She opened the folder and slid a document across the counter. "We have a program. Paid internships through community partnerships. We've got funding, but no one wants to take the risk. You already did it with Marcel, unofficially. I'm asking if you'd consider doing it again, officially." Travis studied the paper. Background checks, probation status, a few profiles, nothing easy, nothing safe. He looked up. "How many interns?" "Just one to start." He glanced over at Marcel, who was wiping grease off his arms, smiling slightly as Jonas handed him a new tool. Travis nodded. "All right, one." Natalie beamed. "You won't regret it." "I might," Travis said, "but I'll do it anyway." The next Monday, the intern arrived. Her name was Kendra, 17, soft-spoken but sharp-eyed. Her hoodie was zipped up high, hands deep in the front pockets. She didn't talk much on the first day, didn't smile, just nodded and followed instructions. But she showed up. Every hour, every task. Jonas assigned her basic tire inspections and observation duty. Travis watched her out of the corner of his eye. There was something closed off in her, like she'd been locked up tight and hadn't decided whether to open yet. By Wednesday, she was speaking more, asking about talk patterns, alignment angles. She made notes in a small spiral notepad she carried everywhere. When Travis asked why she wrote things by hand, she said, "If I write it, I remember it. If I type it, I forget." He understood that. Friday afternoon, Travis found her standing near the front window staring out. "Everything all right?" he asked. Kendra didn't look back, just thinking. This place is loud, but not in a bad way. It's the kind of loud that feels alive. He nodded, letting the silence stretch. "I used to think garages were for men who yelled a lot and smelled like beer," she added. Travis smirked. "Some still are, but not this one." She looked back at him then, really looked, and something shifted. The next week, they ran into their first real challenge. A customer brought in a car with a ruined transmission, furious that their last service hadn't caught the issue. He claimed they damaged it, demanded full repairs for free. Clara showed Travis the previous work order. It had been for a tire rotation, no engine check, nothing that touched transmission work. Still, the man shouted, called them liars. Marcel, who just walked in from lunch, overheard and tensed immediately. Travis stepped between them before it could escalate. "Sir," he said calmly, "we're happy to run a full diagnostic at no charge, but the service you're referring to wasn't connected to your transmission. We'll give you the facts, nothing more, nothing less. I want your boss. You're looking at him." The man went quiet, just long enough for Travis to hold eye contact. Then the customer scoffed, cursed, and left. Clara watched him go, jaw tight. "People think yelling makes them right," she muttered. Travis exhaled slowly. "Sometimes it just makes them loud." He turned to Marcel, who still looked rigid. "You all right?" "Yeah, just... I've seen that kind of guy before. Usually doesn't end with someone walking away." "Well, it does here." That Friday, something unexpected happened. A box arrived. Inside, a polished plaque with an engraving, Urban Gear Community Integrity Award. It came with a letter from Ellison Hollis. "This wasn't created before you. It exists because of you. Thank you for showing us how a garage can serve more than just cars." Travis didn't say anything, just passed the plaque around the break room. Marcel touched it like it might burn. Kendra smiled at it with one corner of her mouth. Rick surprisingly said it first. "We should hang it in the lobby." Everyone looked at Travis. He gave a slow nod. "Yeah, this one we hang." That night, after everyone left, Travis stayed behind. He sat in the office, lights low, door open. He watched the reflection of the plaque on the glass wall, the shimmer of pride he hadn't let himself feel until now. Then he opened a blank document on his laptop and started typing. Title, team values. He wrote 5 bullet points. 1. Show up on time. 2. Own your mistakes. 3. Treat every customer with respect, even when they don't deserve it. 4. Look out for your crew. 5. Remember where you started. He printed it, taped it above the break room coffee pot. No speech, no announcement. The next morning everyone saw it, and no one questioned a word. The weather turned colder by mid-December, the kind of cold that cracked lips, stiffened joints, and made even the warmest garages feel like steel boxes. The shop heaters worked overtime. The team layered up under uniforms, beanies, thermals, extra socks, but the work never stopped. That was the thing about cars in winter. They always broke when the temperature dropped. Travis moved through the garage with his usual calm, clipboard in hand, gloves on, breath visible in the frigid air. The shop had grown into something steady. Clara had streamlined front desk procedures. Jonas was now managing inventory without needing to be asked. And Rick, though still rough around the edges, had begun mentoring Eli on weekend shifts. Kendra and Marcel had fallen into an unspoken rhythm. Kendra tracked workflow and diagnostics with a precision that surprised everyone, while Marcel handled most of the grunt labor without complaint. He was no longer trying to earn his place. He acted like he already belonged. And yet, as the holidays approached, a certain edge crept into the days. Not tension, something quieter, reflective. Everyone moved a little slower, stayed a little longer by the heaters. Even the jokes were softer. One Friday evening, as Travis locked up, he noticed Kendra standing alone outside the shop, her backpack slung low and her shoulders hunched against the wind. "You all right?" he asked, zipping his coat. She nodded without looking up. "Just waiting. My ride's late. Again." He hesitated. "You need a lift?" Kendra turned slightly. "You sure? I wouldn't offer if I weren't." She climbed into his truck in silence. As they pulled out onto the street, Travis noticed she kept glancing at the windshield, watching the wipers clear away thin streaks of frost. "Quiet day?" he asked. She shrugged. "Not really. I just don't talk much when I'm not working. You don't have to. People always say that, but they don't mean it." Travis kept his eyes on the road. "Well, I do." They drove the rest of the way without much more, but just before she got out, Kendra spoke again. "Thanks. Not just for the ride. For not treating me like a project. You're part of the crew." She smiled just a little, then disappeared into her apartment building. That Sunday, Travis received an email from Ellison Hollis. Subject, Internal Expansion Review. Inside was a request. Urban Gear wanted Travis to assist with training new managers at 3 struggling locations across the city. Not full transfers, just part-time mentorship, ride-alongs, workshops, observations, a sign of trust, a sign that they wanted his philosophy to spread. He thought about it for 2 days before responding. Finally he wrote, "I'll do it, but only after the year turns. Let me finish what I started here first." On the 23rd, the garage hosted a small after-hours gathering. Pizza boxes, a speaker hooked up to someone's phone, and cheap decorations Clara found at a thrift store. No suits, no big speeches, just the team. Jonas handed out mugs labeled with each person's nickname. Travis's said Sergeant Talk. Marcel got Grease Ghost, Kendra Red Wrench Witch. She laughed for a full 30 seconds when she saw it. Rick didn't show up until halfway through the night. When he finally did, he was wearing a flannel shirt and holding a half-wrapped box of donuts. No words, just set it down and grabbed a slice of pizza like it was any other day. Later, as the crowd thinned, Travis stepped outside with Jonas. "You believe in second chances?" Jonas asked suddenly. Travis raised an eyebrow. "Yeah. Why?" Jonas kicked at the curb. "I burned some bridges before I came here. Didn't think I'd last. But you never treated me like I was temporary. That's because you never acted like it." Jonas nodded slowly. "Well, just thanks." Travis didn't respond. He didn't need to. On Christmas Eve, the garage was closed, but Travis came in anyway. Old habits. He liked the quiet, used the time to reorganize the back room, fix a busted pressure gauge, and recalibrate one of the lifts. Around noon, he heard the door creak open. It was Ray. Leather jacket, gloves in hand, holding a brown paper bag. "Merry almost Christmas," he said. Travis smirked. "You brought gifts?" "Just pie. My brother sent too many." They sat on milk crates near Bay 2, eating directly from the tin with plastic forks. Ray chewed slowly. "You ever think you'd be running the place that threw you out?" "Not really. Feels good though, doesn't it?" "Sometimes." Ray looked over. "You still waiting on something?" Travis shrugged. "Maybe. I think it's less about waiting and more about making room for what comes next." Ray nodded. "Well, make sure there's room for pie too." They finished in silence. Then Ray stood. "See you around, Sergeant. Don't start with that." Ray just grinned and walked out into the cold. That night, Travis walked through the garage alone. Lights dimmed, tools locked. The plaque on the wall caught a slant of streetlight. He stood in front of it for a moment, reading the inscription again. Community Integrity Award. He didn't feel like a hero, just someone who got a second shot and chose to make it count. January opened with heavy fog. The city moved slower under it, headlights cutting through like ship beacons in a sea of grey. At Urban Gear, the new year began with checklists and cleanup. Clara was already planning spring promotions. Jonas had ordered a new hydraulic lift, and Travis, still processing Hollis's email, was working long hours to finish onboarding Kendra properly before stepping into his mentorship role across other locations. He hadn't told the crew yet, he didn't want to make it about him, but the garage noticed. Something about him felt distant, not cold, just calculating, like he was weighing invisible equations in his head. Kendra was the first to say something. "You look like you're standing in two places at once." Travis raised a brow. "Meaning, like your body's here, but your thoughts already left the room." He sighed, tossing a rag into the bin. "I've got a few things on my plate. You gonna tell us?" "Soon." That wasn't enough, but she didn't press. On the second Friday of January, the garage received an unexpected visitor. Black sedan, tinted windows. Out stepped a man in a charcoal trench coat, silver hair slicked back, expensive shoes glinting under overcast light. He walked like he owned the block. Rick noticed first. "Looks like a tax auditor or a mob boss." Clara approached the counter as the man entered. "Can I help you, sir?" The man didn't smile. "I'm looking for Travis Cole." Travis stepped from Bay 1, jaw already clenched. "Travis," the man said, "it's been a while." The crew went still. Travis crossed the lobby slowly. Dorian Fletcher, former COO of the corporate parent that once managed Urban Gear, the same one who had Travis fired. "What brings you back here?" Travis asked. Dorian gave a small, polished smile. "Let's talk, privately." Travis stared a moment longer, then nodded. "Office." They moved into the back. Clara exchanged a glance with Marcel, who whispered, "Should we be worried?" "No," she said, though she didn't sound sure. Inside the office, Dorian sat down like he still had authority. "You've done well here," he said. "Travis didn't sit. Say what you came to say." Dorian leaned forward. "Urban Gear is expanding fast. The CEO is stepping down next quarter. An interim board has been formed. I've been asked to rejoin, and I want you to come with me." Travis blinked. "To do what?" "To run operations, not a garage. All garages, company-wide." He paused. "You're good with people. You understand the work from the ground up. We need that." Travis let that hang in the air. He crossed his arms. "You mean the same way you needed it when you fired me?" Dorian sighed. "Look, that decision wasn't personal. You know that. Didn't feel that way. You fixed a motorcycle for a biker, a Hell's Angel. You violated protocols, and optics mattered more than reality." Travis's eyes narrowed. His son was in a crash. He needed to get there. "I know, but back then we were protecting the brand. Now we're redefining it." Travis leaned on the doorframe. "Why me? Because no one else survived being fired and turned it into a legacy." The silence stretched. Finally, Travis said, "I'll think about it." Word spread faster than Travis expected. By Monday, Marcel knew. By lunch, Jonas knew. By closing, everyone was looking at him differently. Clara called him out in the break room. "You gonna tell us what's going on?" Travis set down his coffee. "Dorian offered me a senior position, overseeing operations for Urban Gear." Silence. "Are you taking it?" she asked. "I don't know yet." Rick scoffed. "What's to think about?" "That's a big step. It's not just a step, it's a whole new game. I don't know if it's the right one," Kendra said quietly. "Would you leave here?" Travis looked around the room. "I haven't made a decision." That night, Travis stayed late again. This time he pulled out a box from under his desk. Inside were old photographs, boot camp, deployment. A group shot in front of a Humvee, greasy, grinning faces, a younger version of himself, and one photo near the bottom, an even younger Travis, maybe 13, sitting beside his father, who was fixing an engine on an old pickup. His father's hands were black with oil, but he was smiling, like the mess was part of the joy. Travis stared at that photo the longest. The next morning he arrived before sunrise, turned on every light, swept the bay floors, cleaned the coffee pot. At 7:10 Marcel arrived. "Morning," he said, a bit confused by how clean everything looked. Travis didn't look up. "Come with me, I want to show you something." He led Marcel to the back office, opened the file cabinet, pulled out a folder labeled Urban Training Series. "These are training guides I wrote for the expansion. If I take that job, someone needs to run this place. Really run it. Keep it grounded." Marcel's eyes widened. "You mean, I'm not saying today, or even this month, but if I go, I want you to be ready. I want you to have everything I didn't have when I started." Marcel swallowed hard. "You think I can do it? I wouldn't hand you this if I didn't." The rest of the week passed with a strange energy. Work continued, oil changes, diagnostics, brake replacements, but everything felt sharper, like every bolt tightened had a countdown behind it. On Friday, as Travis reviewed inventory logs, Clara walked in and shut the door. "I need to say something," she said. Travis leaned back. "Go ahead. You built something here, bigger than this shop. People drive an hour out of their way to come here, not because we're cheap or fast, but because of the way you lead. If you go, you need to make sure that spirit goes with you, or this all fades." Travis nodded slowly. "I know," Clara smiled faintly. "Then go do it right." He looked at her. "You think I should go? I think you already have one foot out the door. But if you're going to leave, make it count. Don't fade. Blaze." Her words echoed longer than he expected. That night he opened his laptop and typed a single-sentence email to Dorian. "I'll take the job, on one condition." He didn't write the condition in the email. He'd deliver it in person, because some decisions had to be spoken face to face. 3 days later, Travis stood at the edge of a corporate conference room in a building that loomed over the city like a glass monolith. Urban Gear's headquarters didn't feel like anything he knew. The floors didn't creak. The walls were too clean. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was rehearsed. Dorian sat at the head of the long table, flanked by 3 other board members, all suited, all polished, all unfamiliar. One of them, Ms. Langford, scanned Travis like he was a blueprint she wasn't sure about. "I'm glad you could make it," Dorian began. Travis nodded. "I said I'd come." "Before we go into the details," Dorian continued, "you mentioned a condition." Travis pulled out a slim folder and placed it on the table. "I'll accept the role under one agreement. Every new Urban Gear location must implement what's in this manual. Training, values, conflict resolution, community engagement, and hiring ethics. This isn't optional. It's mandatory, non-negotiable." Langford raised an eyebrow. "That's extensive." "It's tested," Travis replied. "Everything in there built the garage you now want to replicate. If you want me to scale that success, you scale the blueprint." The third board member, a man named Vickers, leaned back. "You're asking for a cultural overhaul. I'm offering one." Silence stretched. Finally, Dorian slid the folder toward him, flipped a few pages and nodded. "Approved, but we'll be watching closely. I expect you to." By February, Travis was splitting his time, 3 days a week at the flagship location, 2 days at struggling branches. He rotated between garages in Sunset Ridge, Hollow Creek, and East Bell. Each location had its own challenges: absentee managers, low morale, and poor reviews. In East Bell, he found a break room full of broken lockers and empty vending machines. The lead tech, a guy named Morales, didn't even recognize him. "Are you the new inspector?" Morales asked, wiping his hands. "Call me Travis," he replied. "I'm here to help." He spent the whole day shadowing the crew, not judging, just asking questions, helping with diagnostics, clearing old oil drums, listening. By the time he left, Morales followed him out to the parking lot. "You were the guy in that story, right?" The hell's angel bike? Travis smiled. I was just the guy holding the wrench. Morales nodded. You ever coming back? Not unless they need me. But you've got this. Meanwhile, back at his original garage, Clara had stepped up in more ways than one. She oversaw day-to-day operations with quiet authority. Kendra had been promoted to assistant floor manager, and Jonas had created a tracking system that cut inventory waste by 30%. Marcel had grown the most. He no longer waited to be told what to do. He saw it and acted. His voice carried more weight now. When temp workers came in for trial shifts, they instinctively looked to him for direction. One night, Marcel called Travis. Shop's good, he said. Better than good. But the parking lot lights are busted again. Travis laughed. You've got the number to facilities, right? Yeah. Just thought you'd want to know. I do. Thanks. Marcel paused. You coming in Friday? Wouldn't miss it. That Friday, the garage hosted a customer appreciation event. Nothing fancy, just burgers on a rented grill, a raffle for a free tune-up, and a few folding chairs. But people came. Families, motorheads, seniors, even a local news crew showed up to do a feature. Travis arrived late on purpose. He wanted to see it in motion without him. He stood near the entrance as Clara handed out flyers, Kendra organized the raffle, and Jonas ran diagnostics like a pro. Marcel, clipboard in hand, was giving a tour to a city council member. Travis watched them for a long time. Then someone tapped his shoulder. It was Ray. Place looks good. Travis nodded. Yeah, it really does. You miss it? Every day. Then why not come back? Because it's not mine anymore, it's theirs. And they're killing it. Ray clapped a hand on his shoulder. That's how you know you're led right. Later that evening, Travis found himself in the back bay, alone for a moment. He ran a hand along the side of an old pickup they were restoring, the same model his dad used to own. Behind him, Marcel appeared. Didn't think you'd actually show. I'm unpredictable that way. Marcel grinned. You see the turnout? Yeah, I saw. They stood in silence. Then Marcel said, I keep your manual in the desk. It's got oil stains now. That's how you know it's working. Marcel looked down. If you ever want to come back, we'd make room. Travis smiled. I'll always be here, just not always in the office. By March, news of Travis's leadership style began circulating beyond Urban Gear. A podcast interviewed him. A national garage union cited his manual during a convention. He received a handwritten letter from a mechanic in Nebraska thanking him for giving dignity back to the trade. He didn't feel like a celebrity, just a guy who fixed what was broken. Then came the call, mid-March, late evening. Dorian, we've got a problem. One of the regional directors, Langford's protege, had tried to fast-track expansion by bypassing Travis's manual, fired 3 long-time techs for not upselling unnecessary services. The news had hit social media fast. Travis drove through the night to the affected location. When he arrived, angry customers were waiting in the parking lot. He stepped out of his truck, still in jeans and boots, and walked through the crowd. One man shoved a phone in his face. Are you the guy who wrote that code? The one they ignored? I am. Then fix it. Travis entered the building and found Langford already there. We're containing it, she said briskly. No, you're not. You're pretending. She bristled. This is beyond your authority. Then take my badge. He dropped his ID on the table. And if you don't, let me do it my way. Langford didn't move, so Travis walked past her, gathered the remaining team, and rehired the 3 techs on the spot, in front of everyone, then issued a formal apology to the customers, publicly. The next day, Urban Gear issued a full company-wide memo. The Travis Protocol is not optional. Langford stepped down 2 weeks later. Back in his apartment, Travis finally slept through the night, not because things were perfect, but because, for once, the fight had gone the right way. He still drove by the garage every Friday, still checked the reviews, still answered Marcel's calls, but he never needed to walk back in, because everything he'd tried to build was still standing, still growing, and still his, no matter where he stood. By late spring, Travis found himself back in Eastbell, standing under the same flickering garage light he'd fixed months ago. The sun was still climbing, casting long amber streaks across the lot. He wasn't there to inspect or evaluate this time. He was there for something else entirely. Inside, Marcel had gathered the whole crew. Clara had driven in. Jonas took time off from his new supply chain role in another state. Even Ray stood near the back, sipping coffee like he belonged. Urban Gear had called for a full leadership summit, and they'd chosen Eastbell, Travis's first field rehab, as the meeting ground. Travis adjusted the mic on his shirt collar. A small camera crew set up quietly in the corner. "You sure about this?" Clara asked him as she handed him a tablet. "No," he said, smiling faintly, "but that never stopped me before." The summit started slowly. A few presentations, mostly corporate slides and safe language, but when Travis took the stage, something shifted. "When I was 27, he began, "I fixed a stranger's bike, got fired for it, and that was the best thing that ever happened to me." Eyes lifted. Even the camera crew paused. He continued, walking without the tablet, speaking from memory. He talked about losing purpose after his discharge, about the cold mornings in the apartment, where he questioned if all the skills he'd learned meant anything anymore, about how grease and broken engines gave him a rhythm again. Then he talked about the silence, the space between orders, the hesitation before action, and how one day that silence ended with a single decision. "That bike belonged to a man trying to see his son," Travis said. "I didn't know his last name. I didn't ask. I just did what felt right. That moment cost me my job and gave me this." He gestured around the room. "This community, this family." He didn't cry, but Clara did. The room gave him a standing ovation. Afterward, Jonas pulled him aside. "Have you ever thought about writing a book?" Travis shook his head. "I don't want my name on anything." "You might not have a choice soon," Jonas said, tapping his phone. "That clip is already on social media, viral within minutes." "Fantastic," Travis muttered. In June, Urban Gear announced a new nationwide mentorship program. They named it the Travis Initiative. It paired young veterans with automotive apprenticeships in underserved areas. Travis didn't ask for it, but he backed it fully. He gave talks, quietly, privately, no press. One morning, he woke up to find a letter from the Secretary of Labor inviting him to Washington. He declined. Instead, he spent most of July mentoring a teenage girl named Sophie. She loved bikes, had her own tools. Her brother had been in the service, and she wanted to build something that lasted. Travis taught her how to rebuild a carburetor and how to lead without shouting. In August, the Eastbell location held a tribute event for employees who had made a major impact. Marcel gave the keynote speech. He pointed to the back of the room. "None of us would be here without him. He taught me that it's not the tools you have, but how you treat the people who use them." Everyone looked at Travis. He simply nodded, then got up and fixed a busted vending machine without a word. That fall, Travis finally took a vacation, just him and the road, no itinerary, no destination. He sent Marcel one postcard, just 2 words, "Still rolling." By the first snow, the original garage had won a regional award for community innovation. The team sent him a picture of them holding the plaque in front of the bay doors. They didn't Photoshop him in, they just left a space in the middle, waiting. On New Year's Eve, Travis stood outside the shop, just for a moment. The lights were off, but the spirit was loud, and it didn't need him anymore. And that was the point. Thank you for following this story to its final chapter. What began with a single wrench turn ended up sparking a movement, and not just in mechanics, but in dignity, resilience, and second chances. Travis wasn't a loud man. He wasn't the kind to kick open doors or demand attention. He didn't wear his story like armor. Instead, he carried it quietly, like grease under his nails, ever present, always working. And yet, somehow, that quiet became the loudest part of the legacy he left behind. We watched a young veteran, one who had seen more than his share of silence, step into a broken system and with steady hands and a kind heart transform it. Not overnight, not through grand speeches, but through action, through empathy, through refusing to give up on people the world had already written off. It started with a single moment, a stranger's bike, a choice that cost him everything, but that choice became a fire that couldn't be extinguished. And through that fire, others began to see differently, to believe differently. Marcel, who once ridiculed the idea of fairness, now leads with humility. Clara, once overlooked, now trains others in leadership. Sophie, the teen who picked up a wrench because she believed in what Travis stood for, is on her way to becoming one of the most innovative engineers of her generation. That's the power of one act. One moment of integrity. It doesn't just change your path, it echoes into the lives of others. We don't just tell stories, we share revolutions in disguise, because sometimes it's the quiet mechanic in the corner who reshapes an entire industry. It's the girl in the garage with a dream who reminds us why we fight for access. And it's the veteran who chooses patience over anger, who redefines what it means to lead. We believe these stories matter, not because they're flashy, but because they're true, they're human. They remind us of what we often forget in the noise of the world, that kindness, courage, and quiet persistence still hold immense power. And maybe you, watching this right now, feel like Travis in that garage on day one. Uncertain, overlooked, wondering if what you do matters. We're here to tell you it does. It absolutely does. Every repaired engine, every word of encouragement, every late night you spend helping someone who'll never know your name, it all adds up. It all leaves a mark. So if this story moved you, take a second to reflect. What part stuck with you most? Was it the moment Travis refused to let corporate fear dictate his values? Was it when the people he once served finally stood up and said his name with pride? Or was it something quieter? The way he looked at a busted vending machine and saw a chance to help, no fanfare required. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Scroll down and share them in the comments. Let others know which moments struck a chord and why. And if this story reminded you of someone in your life, a mentor, a family member, a quiet fighter, share this with them. Let them know they're seen, because stories like this are how we build something better. Not through outrage, but through example, not through demands, but through decisions. On your screen now, you'll see more stories like this, stories that don't just entertain, but restore. Stories that bring us back to the core of what matters: people, principle, and possibility. We hope you'll keep watching, keep believing, keep showing up, even when no one's watching. And before we go, if you haven't yet, we'd be honored if you'd like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join a community of people who still believe in the quiet power of good. Because the world needs more mechanics like Travis and more listeners like you. Thank you. From all of us here at the channel, we'll see you in the next story.